Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming over here. You're right, to spend some time with Secretary Simon. It's a great night. We obviously would have liked to maybe had it done a little earlier, but that's the way things work, and democracy moves at its pace, and I'm just grateful. Want to send some thank yous. The legislature finishing their work. We'll wrap those things up here, but we're hand delivering the education bill. Obviously, as teachers with 50 years plus between us, it doesn't seem possible. And having an eighth grader this year, and knowing all the work that went into our schools, our educators, our parents who got our kids through this year. So it seems very fitting. And this investment, the way I understand it, moving on 2 decades it's been since we put this type of investment and made those focus around equity, around making sure every child feels seen and heard in that classroom, and not just their social emotional learning as part of that too. So we're really excited about how this worked out, grateful, and I just got the nightly numbers that I get on COVID. We're at 69.93% of vaccination. So it sounds like somebody tomorrow or the next day will go through and we'll have 70%. So we're excited about this, Mr. Secretary. We're going to present this to you for a signature on it. And so there you go. And
thank you, Governor.
Yes, so the
Thanks
education.
so much, right.
And go ahead,
Well,
Steve.
I just want to say it's an honor to receive the bill, and not just any bill, but this bill. K-12 has a special place in all of our hearts. I have a rising third grader,
Yay.
a rising second grader,
Yay.
and I'm the product of public schools, so thank you very much. And I want to thank you and all who were negotiating, too, for the special place that you had in your hearts for my business, which is the democracy business. While the final product lacks some of the great things that some of us wanted in there, it has some really practical and common sense reforms on things like drop boxes, as well as more Minnesotans vote by mail, vote absentee. They certainly have an appetite for more ways to get their ballot in. So I want to thank you and everyone. Let me just note what everyone else knows, which is that we're the only state in the country with a divided legislature. This is hard. There are just a lot more moving parts. So I want to thank you, your team, all the legislative leaders for getting us to this place.
No,
Thank you very
much.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
No, it is exciting. So questions, anybody? It's a good night.
When are you going to sign the rest of them?
I've got them all signed. We'll get the last ones when taxes comes over, and then I think we've got a bonding corrections, and so that should be here. And well, we hope it'll certainly be within the next 4 hours. So we'll get those and we'll get them over to you.
So you will sign all the bills by tonight?
Yes, we'll have them all signed, ready to go.
Can you talk about the significance of, there was always this talk of maybe partial government shutdown, especially with public safety up until the end there. I mean, it looked for a minute that the deal was derailed last night. So just about keeping the government open.
I didn't ever believe we would, and I think many of you go back and look. I kept saying we would get this done. I do believe that this has to play itself out. There's a lot of emotion around public safety, around a whole spectrum of issues, whether it's police reforms or whether it's violence prevention. And so I think those emotions play. I think the Secretary's right. It's divided legislature, and I'm proud as a DFLer. We're not a homogenous group. We represent a wide swath of Minnesota, and that voices from all those different folks helps us craft better legislation. So I'm just glad that we didn't do that. I think most Minnesotans they understand. I saw the economic numbers this week. We're 8th in state GDP growth and rising. We're 3rd in workforce participation. I think we're 7th on unemployment, and in 1st in entrepreneurial investment. So the state is in good spot. We're in good financially. We had things that we could do, and the situation with the forecast as it came in February, and then the American Rescue Plan puts us in really solid space. And these bills really get us there. So I'm grateful, and I think you always get end of session drama. We always said there has to be that one thing, and we kept saying that. Well, when is the blow up? When does somebody walk away? And it always gets a little bit that way, but I think everybody is committed to getting it done.
July 1st now, but we understand there maybe were some things to work out with SNAP benefits. Does it look like we're going to get?
We got that. We need a little language over with the department of over at MDH, and they're working those things out, and HHS, Department of Human Services, to work that. That is a good point. A big thank you to Secretary Vilsack at USDA and the White House over this weekend. I did get a little concerned last week when we were tying the end of the emergency powers with a very responsible August 1st. We had a couple things left to do. The two big things were obviously the eviction moratorium and the SNAP benefits, and those are locked in. We have that in writing from USDA, and now it's just a few of the more logistical things that we're trying to add on just so that we can basically shut the doors, turn off the lights, sweep the building, send state employees back to their jobs that they were working before, and then get in a place where we just go through the usual process of contracting for testing in the fall and continuing vaccination. So this is a good one, and I know that, last week the Republicans said that wasn't good enough, so I'm really grateful that the administration, when I told them that it was just too big a risk to lose the $45 million, and we have about 570,000 Minnesotans took part in those supplemental nutrition programs, and you can hear it, everybody from Second Harvest Heartland to the Catholic bishops talking about this food insecurity issue is still real. It was before COVID and it still is now. So that was a good compromise.
Senator Gazelka said that they're not going to adjourn tonight. They want to make sure all the bills got signed, and trust but verify, and also in case there's a bonding bill that could still be worked out.
That'd be great.
Because there is no deadline for that. So your thoughts, first of all, about there still being some trust issues, and then the bonding bill.
Well, they don't have to worry about me signing these. I wanted to sign them May 15th, so I've been waiting patiently. That is not a problem. And the bonding bill, if that could still be worked out, I've supported it from the beginning. We put that out there. We have the capacity to do it. If that's something that they can do, I would encourage them to do it. I just think you get to these literally the last 4 hours, we probably should have had that bonding bill ready to go in March or April. But nope, there'll be no problem. We'll sign them, and I think that, everybody gets a little bit frayed by the end of this, but I think Secretary Simon said it, and I keep saying it. You shouldn't get patted on the back for doing what you're supposed to do, but I'm telling you, in 2021, trying to legislate in this democracy, especially with a divided legislature, it is quite an accomplishment. We've now got 2 biennium budgets that came in with surpluses, with historic rainy day funds, historic investments into roads, into children, into education, into healthcare. And I think those are the things that people wanted us to get done. There's a lot to like in this budget, and I think people will start to see that in the next coming weeks.
Governor, are you mulling any other executive actions on police accountability? I know that the Democrats and some community activists are still frustrated by, a lot of what they wanted to see not in the final deal. Is there anything more you can do?
Well, there was a list of several dozen things that were sent over by the House caucus. And when I say House caucus, there's a lot of activists and then, quite honestly, the police in some of these things. And the moves that we made the day before yesterday were things that have been being asked for by everyone pretty much, having a model policy around body cameras with State Patrol, DNR, DPS folks, putting data out. This is all about building trust, and then the money that we're investing in violence prevention. And so I think there are some more things out there that we can look at. What I would like to do, and again, someone asked, should the legislature be doing this? Yes. The legislature should be doing this, and there's no reason they couldn't have come up with something around those body cameras. But if they don't, these things supplement where those are at. So the Post Board's an independent citizens board that oversees policing. They've got folks over there that understand this, that are aggressively leaning into making sure that our communities are safe and that people in those communities feel like they can trust law enforcement. So if there's things out there, we're going to explore those and see and bring them up. See what the Post Board can do. They have rulemaking process that they follow, and see if we can move some of them.
You mentioned the vaccination rates and how the COVID infection rates are falling. When do you expect to have the state workforce back reporting to offices on a regular basis?
Yeah, they've had the plan that they've been putting in, and there's those that are able to be there. I think most of them, they're looking to be there after Labor Day, that they'll, and that's what a lot of companies you see, especially the larger companies, there's that roll back into the workplace. And so I think we'll start to see that. That'll happen over the summer and get them back in.
How do you feel about the emergency powers being ended?
I'm the happiest man in the state, I can tell you that. So seriously, I'm happy because we've reached 70%. I'm happy because COVID has now become a chronic management issue rather than an emergency. I'm happy about it because I think it takes some tensions off. This thing, for no reason, I think you witnessed it with this. We were winding down. There's nothing there. There's no mask mandate. There's no business mandate. There's no school mandates. We're vaccinating and we're collecting federal money. And that wasn't good enough. That was still a sticking point. So I think what that does is takes that part of it out. And I think we feel like we've got a good plan. And again, for those who said the emergency's over, what was frustrating to me is that it's just so disrespectful for the literally thousands of people across this state that the logistics of delivering 6 million doses to over 8,000 locations, having the people get those out in a timely manner, and then doing that 2 times that with testing all over, and then doing it with PPE. And the idea that it's just like, well, no, we want the emergency to be over, and not a single person thinking about all the work that went in. That's like the ending of this. It's just like, you can't just shut it down. We literally have to start ramping stuff back. So I feel incredibly grateful. We were discussing, Gwen and I, on the way over. It seemed almost unimaginable. Last summer, I remember when we were talking with some health folks, and we had Mayo Clinic on. We had the folks from IMHE up in Washington State talking about the modeling, and they said there is the potential, if we don't get the vaccine and don't get it early, that we'll be in this next summer. And so I think in retrospect and looking back, to imagine that we would be here now, it seemed unimaginable we would get to July, but I feel incredibly grateful. So I am glad that this is back in this process, but I think many people are seeing how long it takes through the deliberative process, and that's a good thing. It's a check and balance. But I think in the time of an emergency, and again, I didn't hear a single word. This week, I used another emergency power. I used emergency power to declare a weather emergency in Marshall County because of the 8 inches of rain they got that washed out the tarmac. And so I declared that. I did that on my own. We moved the money and nothing, because that's the way the system's supposed to work, that we have to manage that. So I'm incredibly grateful. I'm happy about it. I do want to give a big thank you. These powers are enshrined in the Constitution. They were upheld by the courts. But the other check and balance on that is the Executive Council, who helps with these decisions, being the other constitutional officers who are there to ask the questions to make sure that those things are happening the way they're supposed to.
We'll be back tomorrow morning, so that's it for now.
We're going to do some of the ceremonial signings, bring in some of the activists, do some of that, and then it should be, like I said, within the next hour or two, we'll finish off the final things. And you can relay to Senator Gazelka. I'll be gladly signing every one of those quickly as I can. So thanks, everybody. Steve, thank you.